count or high probe count out of nowhere. He's comfortable in any situation. That's part of his strength as a player. And he's going to be looking to slay some nerds once again. Let's see if he can continue this path of reclaiming the title as top of the region. Starting here, this is Haas.
Representing Prep Esports. And his opponent in the top left, opening up very aggressively with a 12 ball. When you're known for your macro recently, not a bad way to mix it up. In the top left, this is Hong Kong's GogojOey.
Okay. Well, that is certainly one way to start things off.
Yeah. And Haas does not like to scout. Haas is one of these players who's like, yeah, I can get away with no scouting.
Yep.
The upsetting thing, I don't know, was it Rex? It was someone. I remember they did this, and I was like, maybe it was Joey. It was a previous season. They 12 pulled. He didn't scout. He might have even gone Nexus first in that game. And Haas just
first, yeah.
He pulled probes and he lost like 2, killed every Zergling, and just went back to playing a macro game. And I was like, my lower jaw was cartoonish. It was like hanging on the floor of my room. And I was like, you're meant to be dead. And Haas is just like, yeah, I micro probes good, lol. Like, he should be pretty screwed even here. He's not going to get any news of it. Those Zerglings dodging the scouting until now as he comes in and he's like, oh, I'm being 12 pulled. He's going to go for the pylon. I don't think Haas can get there in time to defend that.
He's got to pull some friends, and they come. And, well, that's definitely...
Now just avoid the fight. Joey's got to just run. Yeah, run into the main.
Yeah.
And you want to engage. The Zealot's so delayed. This is a disaster for Haas.
Yeah, this is looking a lot better. I had half an expectation, Pig, not gonna lie, that he would magically bop this and stop it in his tracks, but Joey's gaining ground here. He's now trying to chew down probes on 2 fronts.
Ooh.
And delaying mining time on 2 fronts. He gets the probes stuck here in between the mineral lines. Zealot is now out, but he's still doing damage in the main.
Yeah, Haas was just trying to simultaneously pocket micro probes in 2 locations at once. Okay, that's not possible. The fact that he almost pulled it off is insane. It tells you how good Haas's early game micro is. To do this, you need to spam clicks like 50 times a second on the minerals, alternate attack moves with then spamming the clicks on those minerals to keep them stacked on top of each other so all the probes attack at once. He tries to pull off an insane move, doesn't quite manage it, and Joey ends up here with a massive amount of damage. He has a 3rd hatchery on the way. He's able to delay his gas a lot because, well, why would you need gas? The Adept is going to take forever to get across to your side of the map. And Joey with it absolutely crushing start. Haas, one of the favorites in the region. You might be wondering, why wouldn't you just scout? That's why Haas is one of the best players in the region. The man likes to gamble. If he ain't all in on black or red at some point within the first few minutes of his series, it's not going to be a Haas game.
No. We'll get rid of this last lane, and I mean, you can't count Haas out from this position by any means, because he just has ways of finding damage, pulling a fast one on his opponent and getting back into the game. But you know, it is a nice setup for Joey, and I think this is absolutely what he needs to do to go toe-to-toe to Haas, because if you let Haas play the game the way he wants, that's where you have a bit of trouble, because you really never know where he's going to take it. So we have a little bit of harassment coming out here from Haas with that one Zealot. He's got an Adept joining in as well now. We'll see if he can snipe himself a drone or maybe a creep tumor here and there.
Adepts and Zealots moving on in towards that 3rd base. Those drones just need to get on out of there, and Joey will do so. And for Joey, really, it's just, hey, all we're really seeing here is, okay, how do you choose to play when you're ahead? Because Haas is so good when he's behind. We know he's going to cause you some problems. He's going to give himself opportunities to beat you. Are you able to keep your cool and just keep building upon this advantage? Because having this sort of edge, you should be able to turn it into a much bigger lead the longer the game goes. And will Joey actually have the confidence to do so? Honestly, I see he's already building a roach horn, and I actually think Joey could go to about 55 workers before building a single roach, and he'd be completely safe. So this feels to me like Joey's playing very conservative, and too conservatively even.
We had the Twilight Council come out there. Hasn't utilized that just yet, because he's actually going to go for the Stargate as well.
Yeah, so late Stargate is generally considered to be terrible, but it can work really well because if Joey goes like a roachling over commitment, which he's already building a massive roachling with no real purpose, they don't really have a use because you're up against the 2-base Protoss, right? So this is Joey massively overcommitting to units. He might be able to just kill Haas, but all-inning a 2-base Protoss, especially with shield batteries and whatnot coming up, super risky proposition.
Yeah, I'm feeling like Joey's he's scared of losing the lead. So he just wants to go. He wants to put the hurt on his opponent. Yeah, he's going to lair in the background, but he really just wants to make him work. At the moment, there is a Zealot in the wall here, and with those steps, he'll cull some of the wings. So he's going to be able to get in here, but he has killed the Zealot off. There's the force field to buy himself a little bit more time. Ravages, he is going to be able to punch through eventually.
Void Rays aren't ready. The Void Rays are not ready just yet. First one's almost out. Second one will be here soon, but I think Joey might have just had too good of a start. May not be the most elegant way to finish the game, but I'm pretty sure it's still going to be enough. There's just so much Ling. Ravager coming in. Factory overcharge. The probe's being pulled. He's trying to hang on.
Yeah, the shield battery giving him some longevity here, and the Void Ray does jump in to help out. There's still a few gateway units in tow as well. 11 probes have gone down, but with the amount of units that are coming in for Joey, despite having an air unit that is actually going to get piled, oh no, I think it's just too much, Pig.
Has calculated that. He stood his ground. He's like, no, I know you're not going to kill it with that many vials. It'll survive with 10 hit points. But yeah, that's going to be it. So well done by Joey. Does get finished there. And Haas's idea was correct. Just a little bit too late. If he had a Void Ray out just a little earlier, this is absolutely the clutch tech that gets him back in the game. But as it is, GogojOey there picks his build order wisely. A very well executed 12 pool rush. Depowers the gate, runs circles around, wastes a crazy amount of mining time, and just finishes it off with a clean roachling attack.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want to see from him. He's got to make those decisive moves and try and throw Haas off his normal game plan, which, as we've said, can be really unpredictable. So if he's forcing him to react to the strategies that he's chosen, then maybe that's the way forward in this series. It's a good start, but he does still need to win another couple of maps against Haas. And I think what's challenging is to keep things fresh enough to stay on top of things and not lose your lead, because you just don't know what's going to happen in the next couple.
Indeed. You got to be careful. These series can get out of control very fast. And I mean, that was, I think, the way these series tend to start off. It's the Haas. Will the game ever go over 7 minutes? Hour. That's every time we cast Haas. He gambles, his opponent gambles, they try to kill each other. We get to see some fun matches, and that's only game 1.
That's exactly right. We're going to take another short break, but when we come back, we'll be continuing Joey versus Haas. Don't go away. Welcome back. We are in the Taiwan, Hong Kong region, and we are one game into our first best of 5 for the playoffs. It is Haas versus GogojOey. And a bit of an unexpected tactic from GogojOey in game number 1. He opted for ye old 12 pool. And what do you know? He got himself a win. So, what do you think, Big? Are we going to be seeing more early game, maybe mid-game attacks from Joey? Do we see Joey trying to tackle Haas in a macro game?
Yeah, well, this is where, I mean, you at least go to the mid game. Just standard hatch first. You go to take your third. You realize there's a cannon shooting your natural. You go, what? When did that go? Oh, no. Suddenly there's Void Rays in your natural with shield batteries. You tap out, you go to game 3. So I think you attempt the macro game. Whether you survive Haas's cannon rush is an entirely another story.
That's the thing, right? He's the only player that jumps to mind as someone who will consistently do cannon rush still, at least in the regions that we cast. It otherwise just pops up very sporadically. But what was the one that we saw yesterday or the day before where he did some ridiculous like 5-6 pylon
yes.
to make it work?
Yeah, it was like, yep, it's fine. Doesn't matter if I can't get it in the most efficient area. This man in the top rung of 2,000 atmospheres is always willing to invest in an obscene amount of pylons just to get the wall off. This is, of course, Team Prep's house.
And from Juggernauts down here in the bottom left, he's leading 1-0 in the red. This is GogojOey.
Gas before gateway. So Haas gets 12 pulled and says, "You wouldn't do it twice, would ya? I'm just gonna be greedy. Who cares? It's fine." He's insane.
He's never ruffled by whatever happens to him. I always think of the era of Nexus first, where he was just doing that every PvP when this region was like, 3 or 4 Protoss in the top 4, and he made it work in so many different scenarios, whether he was rushed or not. So I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Haas's sort of blasé attitude about scouting and how greedy he should be.
Well, he's right as well, right? He's like, yeah, the opponent, he's going to go hatch first. He's not going to 12 pool twice in a row. That would be silly. And yet it would have worked out really well here as the scout comes across so late. Definitely going to be interesting that Joey goes for the third rather than the natural. I think that's so that if he gets cannon rushed, it's not going to be containing him.
Yeah, I mean, he knows who he's playing against, and I think it makes a whole lot of sense to sort of indirectly mitigate some of this stuff. Because yeah, that has to be the reason, right? Because Haas doesn't scout. It's not like he's going to have the early probe to block necessarily, although I wouldn't put it past him either, just to be extra annoying. But yeah, as it stands, we are seeing just a pretty calm early game this time round, and we'll see where Haas goes with this tech.
Delays the warp gate to go straight for Stargate, and Joey sees that with the Overlord, of course, so knows that, oh, okay, like a Stargate opening, a bit more of a standard ZVP, and Joey showed he does like that Queen Infestor play. Some very good fights. Of course, the Disruptor drop on the Infestors can be pretty brutal, as we found out.
Yeah, it could be a pretty wild one. But this kind of gives Joey permission to drone up, saturate those 3 bases, get into a more comfortable position, and then decide where he's going to head with this, if he is actually going to stick to that Queen Walk idea. And I think it's interesting that because Queen Walk has become such a thing, the way that the meta is sort of slightly updated has been to also fake the Queen Walks and say, gee, it looks like a nice day for a stroll, and then you sort of just turn around halfway. So I think that's a fun adaptation that's come out in recent times.
It's nice to add that indecision and whatnot with the opponent, and quick third base strike into the Twilight Council. All right. So Glaive Adepts charge lots, who knows? Glaive Adepts, of course, would be the standard thing from here. Just a Robo.
I'm feeling glaives. We've seen some good glaving today already. Why not have a little bit more?
I always find it weird with these build orders though, where they go Twilight Robo, but then they go 4 gases before gateways. See, to me that doesn't make any sense, because what's the point in going glaives if you're not gonna, like, is it 2 gate Glaive Adepts? Okay, it's DTs.
Ah,
okay. So this preemptively defends the Hatch Tech Queen Walks. Right, that's what the Twilight's for. And he just drops the Forge, so he's gonna be like, maybe get a Prism out to do a bit of DT Archon drop harass. But the DTs are mostly defensive, and then you just add Immortals, upgrades, probe your third base. So Joey's going for that Queen. Oh, it's a hard counter. Oh, Haas is so far ahead of the meta. He does literally the same greedy build that he got killed for last game, essentially, with like a super late scout. And then he just does a build which completely hard counters Joey. The Queens will get there, and there will already be DTs hitting them. A lair has not started. This is a straight up build order win. Haas had no information to know this was coming. He knew before the game even started, I tell you. He knew Joey would go for this game too.
It's unreal, the size of this man's brain, honestly. He just... I mean, I know we joke a lot about the unpredictability of his play, but his ability to also predict what his opponent's going to do is pretty sick. So yeah, this third base is going to get evacuated. It's not going to be too much use for the moment, but there's those DPs you were talking about, Pig, right on the front lines. There's absolutely nothing he can do about that. He can maybe transfuse, try and keep his units alive slightly longer, but there's really no value in that, so...
You'll get the third.
Joey.
That's something. The Adepts going down just before the battery finished really made this a little bit harder for Haas to defend, and he does build a bunch of extra pylons. He retakes his third already on the other side because he knows that it's only a matter of time till he kills all these units. So Haas is like, yeah, it's fine. He's building a second Twilight Council. Uh-oh, Haas forgot that he's already got a DT shrine out.
Oh, no. Oh, well. I wanted to give him the credit, like, maybe he wants to upgrade 2 things at once. But, you know, he's already got charged. So. Oh, well.
It's a bit of a chaotic situation, so he has to scramble a little bit, right? So you understand why Haas does get a bit confused about that, often gets to this scenario without having the Twilight Council already up, no doubt. And wanted that timeout so we could start +2. The DTs do defend, though. Joey does a good job of droning behind it, so it's not game over. I honestly thought those DTs would be there sooner, but because the Void Ray went behind the push and tried to cut off the reinforce, that actually hurt Haas, because then Joey could just run ahead. He said, oh, there's only one Void Ray. I don't need to wait for the queens. And so he got in there and did the damage before the queens even got there. So that was actually a crucial mistake from Haas, getting a little bit kind of greedy with it. The Void Ray behind makes sense if you're planning to give up the third base anyway. But in that scenario with the DTs coming in clutch, he should have actually kept his Void Ray in front of the third base, defending it and forcing the attack to be slowed down.
He's going to try and get some extra damage here with that Warp Prism, the Archon drop rolling in. Always a bit of a pain in the backside because you can typically get at least some damage done, even if it's only trading with units. As long as you don't go past that shield, then you're absolutely fine. And he's going to continue being a nuisance, getting those Immortals +2 coming in as well. Joey is pumping mad Roach though, getting some extra Overlords as that fourth base comes up. And he's getting close to that point where the speed and +1 missile attack is going to kick in.
The Void Ray died, right? So, I mean, you don't need to worry about anti-air. It's like Archons, Immortal Zealots. Mass Roach can overwhelm that if the Immortal count's low enough.
Yeah, I don't think it's gotten too high yet. He's obviously going to be bringing Overseas as well to help combat the DTs, because obviously if there's no way of detecting those, Haas is going to throw a couple in the mix to help himself out.
Now Joey's going Hydras and droning a little bit though, and building spines. So this is what I talk about with sometimes Joey lacks sharp edge. Gets in this defensive mindset where he's massing roaches. He's got to go. He's got to go. Okay, he's moving out. Thankfully. I was like, don't sit back with that many roaches. It's going to be real bad. I mean, you can kind of rely on Haas coming to you, I guess. There can be that sort of like, wait for him to come to me game. Does Haas realize those rocks are going down? Haas, not paying attention.
Uh-oh. Ooh, okay. Here's Walls right in the front there. Look at those force fields. He just crushes a bunch of those roaches on the front lines, and that's enough to spook GogojOey, and he's going to pull out of there. And right on cue, Haas takes that War Prism and starts moving it back towards the base.
Yep, 2 Archons in that, so you add Zealots to that. Zerglings won't be able to deal with that. Neither will small numbers of Roaches or Ravagers. This is a good push on the right, plus the Zealots going towards the main. Joey, though, has the perfect army. The question is, will he split it correctly? Oh, the Spores can actually kill that War Prism. That'll be huge.
Bit of a saving grace here as he's going to lose that fourth base by the looks of it. And now there's nothing to save those Archons in the main. And it looks like, I'm not sure if the Zealots actually got out from that War Prism either, so I've got a feeling there. Only a small number of drone kills, but this is the real story.
Yeah, those Immortals doing well. As their buff is going, you'd love to pounce. But Joey, the rest of his Roaches were still up in his main. I actually still think this is totally playable for Joey, because Haas is on 120 supply of pretty low tier tech. Problem is, of course, that +3 weapons is coming in and Blink. And if you just end up with +3 Blink Stalkers versus Roaches, it's like, oh, okay, Roaches and Mutas ain't going to beat +3 Blink Stalkers. Haas is obviously not super prepared for the Mutas. If Joey can squeeze out like 5-6 Mutas, get them in a mineral line, while defending the next few run by as well, he's going to be in an okay spot. But definitely, economic advantage goes to Haas, momentum goes to Haas.
I was trying to open the map up a little bit here and peeling off some Zealots. He'll definitely be looking for a couple of angles of attack if he can manage it. Now the big Stalker Warp in will meet with this force around the middle of the map, and GogojOey is just kind of trying to roam between his bases and figure out where Haas is and where he's going to attack into. This side near the fourth is kind of the obvious option. He's trying to rebuild that, and there's no creep past these rocks, so it pushes Haas through a choke. He has some vials at the ready.
Force fields is so good though. Definitely very scary. The force fields and the Immortals. The way Haas micros this is very, very good, but so far, Joey gets rid of a lot of the Zealots. As long as Joey's willing to give up the hatchery, he can take a pretty good fight, but those force fields are absolutely savage. The 5 Immortals just murdered GogojOey.
Joey's trying to micro his Mutas a little bit as well on the other side, but there's not that many of them, and Haas is prepared. He is starting to lose a bit on the front lines. 20 more Roaches are coming into the mix, but some more Blink Stalkers join the fray. The fourth base goes down again. Those Mutas are actually starting to get some probe kills.
And they need to. This is desperately needed damage for Joey. Haas is up on a 4th, remember, and even after 13 probes, Haas is fine. He's reprobing as quickly as they're dying. So his economy is still looking, even in terms of workers, up 1 base. And now Joey is so desperately all in. Cass knows he just needs to defend. Save that. Oh, losing an Immortal. Uh-oh. Oh, he cannot lose these Immortals. They are his firepower. Immortal's one of the highest damage units in the game when it comes to their anti-armored output. And you see it right there. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, this is just not a point where Roach Ravager can do it. The +3 Archon Stalker Immortal. That was devastating.
Yeah, check that battle report. It's 65 roaches, bruh. That's so many. And now he's going to be struggling to make as many roaches and ravagers as he can to try and hold on here. It's not the hugest Protoss army, but you said it, Pig. He's upgraded, he's got Blink, he's still got those Immortals in the mix as well. And he's actually going to aggressively Blink on top of all this, getting a full surround on the Zerg units, and with more reinforcements coming in, that is going to be it. Haas evens up the score.
Well, when you're the favorite and you're down a game in a series, you've had a rough start, it is the time to knuckle down, play safe, cross your T's, dot your I's, or you can just not scout, blindly go DTs, shut down their push, and then just smash them with sick force field Immortal charge that Archon multi-prong like you always do. I tell you what, if he didn't end up flying that Prism into the Spore in the main, that would have been over even quicker and more decidedly. That Spore Crawler kept Joey in the game for a little bit, but yeah, this is just such a good opening with the quick DTs, and like we said, we did mess up with the Void Ray a little bit, so we took a bit of damage here while the Queens were still about 25 seconds out. But despite that, retook the base. I mean, these force fields, here's one of them. Oh, it's like
obscene.
So many roaches go down, and he's so good at pulling the Zealots back every time, and he always sets up this arc on this 4th base. He kept saying, come defend your 4th, please, and every time Joey went to defend it, he just lost so many roaches.
Yeah, by that point he took out the rocks as well, and he really opened up the map, and every engagement seemed to start out okay for Joey, but once you see how much damage those Immortals start to rack up, you see Joey hightail it out there and struggle to get another roach force to fight with. And while his economy wasn't horrible, it wasn't amazing either. He could never get that 4th base up, and Haas, he was mining on 4 quite comfortably for a long time there. So I mean, that's the Haas we're used to seeing in a PvZ, right?
Yep, that is the Haas that is powerful and strong. Just a handful of Immortals is all he needs to just destroy those roaches.
Yep, so we'll see what he's going to whip up in game 3. I think that's going to be on Jagannatha. So we'll see if he continues with like the greedy opener, no scout. This is another map where we've seen a few queen walks, but if I were Joey, I'd be hesitating to try that again. It seems like Haas is like, no, I can read your mind. I know exactly what's coming. I'm going to counter it.
Is this where the apprentice learns from the master? Well, you didn't scout 2 games in a row. You know what? It worked the second time. So maybe if I queen walk 2 games in a row, it'll work the second time. You never know.
Maybe.
Could work out. We'll see exactly what goes down as Jagannatha. A good map for that queen walk strategy. Let's see how he deals with it. In the top right, in the blue, this is Prep Gaming's Hans.
And representing Juggernauts over here in the bottom left in the red, this is GogojOey.
Looks like a hatch first, up against a gate scout, so a bit more conservative. Joey always goes to the third. This is so funny. Isn't that just amazing that you're so scary as a cannon rusher that like the Zerg blocks their own natural for you? Like,
Yeah.
Here's Protoss players that send one of their first workers across the map to get that third to be built out there. As is like, oh, they see my name on the loading screen. They know they want to do that. And I'm still going to cannon rush anyway.
Dude.
I don't even care.
Oh, Haas. I hope Haas never changes his playstyle, man. It's just too much fun. And this is the worst thing too, because like obviously he's trying to avoid the cannon rush because CBF, if you will, you know, he just doesn't
Yep.
want to deal with it. And it's so difficult too because he's a master at it. Even when you know it's coming, it's hard to stop. Now he's going to cannon rush this base. If he wants to stop this stuff building, he actually has to pull drones from all the way in that base and go all the way around. You lose so much mining that it's just like, well, is it even worth it, you know?
I do think there's more efficient ways of defending Haas's cannon rush than building the third out here because it is so exposed. It has to just get cancelled now. And with Haas build, he's got a cyber core and 22 probes. So one pylon, one cannon forcing a cancel, he just drops a nexus. Like Haas has a much better position here. Losing the hatchery way worse for the Zerg in this particular scenario. So this is definitely a problem. I've obviously been critical of a lot of players, how they defend cannon rushes over the years, because I've cast a lot of Haas games, a lot of parting games, and I definitely feel they get a lot of free advantages and straight up free wins sometimes because of it. Now, is that a full wall? It looks like it.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell sometimes on the way the buildings sit. But he'll get himself an adept out here. Second one on the way, and he can poke at that. The Lings are taking down that pylon. I actually thought it would be mean, but kind of funny if he went for another cannon at the actual Nat. Just because GogojOey only made that one pair of Lings initially, which isn't enough to kill the initial pylon. So, but it really depends if he would have called his bluff there or not. But he's gonna head across with these Lings. Unfortunately, the adept is going to track those down.
Well, that Stargate is getting close to finished, and it's good just denying the scouting. Well worth it here. Don't give any information to Joey. Keep him back on that map. The Overlord's going to go foraging for information inside the main. Should spot that Stargate. And I mean, the worker differential looks pretty standard, honestly, for this stage in the game. So I think you could argue that as much as I got excited for the cancel and the hatch, the disruption, it's not game ending. Definitely not game ending for Joey. But we'll see how this evolves over the next few minutes. Will he be able to get the Queens up in time to defend the Oracles? If the Adepts of the Oracles find any damage, that could spiral, and that's a forward proxy gate. Yeah. Is this just going to be like non-glaive Adepts being reinforced really quickly?
I feel like it is. He's definitely done this before when we've watched him in his PVZs, and I think Joey just ran past that spot. I'm not sure he saw the tech there. I don't think it was. I think because it's on the high ground, he may not have seen it. Gonna poke at that third base, but then decide better of it. Yeah, there we go. Insano confirms for us he has not seen what's coming.
Ooh. Okay, nice snipes. Lava burn. Stuff does go down. Adept warping in behind the wall there. Oh, these adept count grows because he can just warp in 2 adepts at a time on the front. Fast warp-ins as well. Oracle's joining up with it, and he's got a quick third behind it. This is a real problem. Joey is going to need to build a bunch more Zerglings. I think that's a good round of drones, but it's got to be Zerglings after that. It is only 2 games. So,
yeah.
so 4 adepts.
Yeah, in my head I was like, oh my god, this is going to be so many adepts. But the ramp up is quite slow, so he's still sitting here just droning away, trying to get into his lair, and his next round of tech looks like we may see that +1 missile and roach speed again, but he's got to contend with these adepts.
Yeah, does manage to take out 3 drones here. Nice micro from Haas, but definitely wants a little more. 5 workers will make that pretty worthwhile, cleaning up a few Zerglings as well. The Oracles are in the natural. Will they get much more to add on top of this? Oh, the Adepts did get their shade in as well. Oh, that's very nice. Ends up just losing 4 Adepts. The 9 workers lost mining, interrupting the gases and everything. Joey, though, holding that drone key down. He slams it down. Joey showed the other night against Nice that he can bounce back from damage. Like, he was losing so many workers in some of those early games, but he hit the drone key just as hard, and it made up for the losses. It meant he could bounce back in the macro game, so don't count Joey out. He's going to need to deal more damage than that is Haas if he wants to finish this off.
Well, he's adding on a whole bunch of gateways. He's getting close to the +1, and Blink is now on its way, so he's certainly going to have a pretty nice army to work with. GogojOey was making a spy there for a second, then he decided to cancel it. It's because he's come in and he's scouted what's going on.
He knows it's Blink Stalker Sentry, so he's just going to focus on Roachling and having enough numbers to deal with the push. However, Joey's on such a low worker count. This is one of those games where it's like, as long as Haas doesn't overcommit and just pressures, it's going to be hard for Joey to get the overwhelming numbers he needs to actually push.
Getting close to having that roach speed, and that'll give him a little bit more mobility. He's being very active with the lings, just poking around, which I like to see. And if he clicks on those stalkers, he'll note, okay, the upgrade is in, and he's heading towards me. So he should have enough units to start defending this. He's been pumping Roach Ling for a little while. The +1 missile isn't quite here yet.
No robo needed for Joey. For Haas, sorry. You know, the forward gateway never getting taken out is such a problem. I don't think Joey even knows about it necessarily. And it's a good number of units, as you mentioned. But this means this push is going to demand such respect from Joey. Haas is still hitting that probe key. Haas just transitions onwards. It's going to be a real problem for Joey because Joey's work count's not that great. He does get a lot of the sentries, though. Those are great pickoffs.
He's starting to try and muscle up into the thick of the Stalker army here. And the Protoss, I mean, he's keeping these Stalkers alive fairly well. Retreats off the ramp. And now that Roach herd is actually quite thin. He's going to rely on these things to try and help up. Absolutely needs to pull back. He's trying to spread the creep down here as well. And I think you're right, Pig. I don't think he's seen that gate. He just sort of assumed the Adepts came maybe by way of the third or something. But Haas is going to keep the pressure up, circling around to where he reckons the fourth base is being taken.
This is exactly where Haas wants the Zerg opponent. He's like, I have more units than you. I have Blink Stalkers, and I'm going to go double Forge. I'm going to add Zealots. I'm going to beat you with just gateway units, Zealots and Stalkers, because I'm going to have more economy, more stuff than you. This is Haas' favorite way to finish the game. He does this versus Terrans all the time. Normally he goes 120 workers against Terran and makes 26 gateways on 7 base, but it's the same theme of let's just kill you with simple units. Why bother getting a complicated army? Going to make 2-1 upgrades, keep making Stalkers. He'll probably add Charge and Zealots at some point if the Zergling count gets big. And this is a great way to play this out for Haas because Stalkers with Micro are such a flexible and efficient unit.
It must feel like Haas is everywhere at the moment. He tries to pressure the fourth base, Haas is there with Stalkers. He's got pressure on his third base from the Stalkers. He had his fourth base cancelled from that same group. And there's still warpins happening at this forward gateway. He hasn't been able to clean it up because Haas was there to deflect it. So he's pretty stuck on this side of the map. He hasn't been able to throw anything back at Haas. And Haas has split his Stalkers here, trying to press the issue. Will get at least one Ravager that was trying to morph there. And now he's in full Blink micro mode as GogojOey moves forward just a bit on that army.
Ooh, Haas does overstep, loses a Stalker. But Joey, very hungry, is going to chase through the speedy zone. Does get a couple of the Stalkers there. Nice trades for Joey. And a good pullback. Doesn't overextend. Great patience by Joey, clearing up the gateway on the left as well.
Yeah, really important. He's going to try again in here, but that's a little too well defended for Lings to take it out. I think he would have to hit so many more. And Haas still dodging these biles decently well. He's cleared up a little bit of that creep too. Just trying to keep the pressure up. His +2 isn't far from kicking in, but Joey's actually going to beat him there. So they should be pretty even on that count, at least in terms of the attack upgrades. And yeah, as you said earlier, Joey was pretty good with the investors, and he's starting to get some of those on the field now as well.
Yeah, a couple of big fungals in the middle could change things. It's the upgrades, of course, that are scary. Even though melee is kicked in, there's no carapace upgrades for Zerg. In this double Forge scenario, not having carapace is going to end up being a disaster because when Haas hits 3-3, that's a problem. If Haas hits 3-3, I should say. He gets up an upgrade, but the Stalkers are very mobile. And look at that, he even walls off to buy a little bit of time. Oh, that's a lot of roaches. Remember, Joey doesn't have a big economy. He has made a big army now, but Joey's so desperate to get damage. A kill on the Nexus, no cancel.
Nice.
I mean, these are good pickoffs. It's a 60 drone Zerg, though, who's got really average tech.
Loses a few friends on his way out here for his troubles. At the very least, getting the kill on the Nexus prevents a bit more of the forward spread with that Protoss Empire because he doesn't want to have an easy warp-in point so close again to his base. Gosh, that's a lot of Stalkers there.
Nice Ravager come on forwards. Where are those fungals? Oh, this choke point, this is such a bad angle. Some nice fungals do land, but this is such a bad angle for Joey, just trying to force his way through the choke point. The Queens were like a force field against his own army. A terrible beginning to the engagement. I think he had the composition to maybe deal with this push, but the Blinkstalker Micro baiting him out to that giant arc and the giant grin of Stalkers just staring at you. That is not something a Zerg player wants to see.
Oh no, now the drones are coming up the line. This is always a frustrating situation for the Zerg. GG, Haas takes a 2-1 lead, putting him on match point. And Stalkers are all you need, Pig. That is one and done for Haas. Really, really nicely done by him.
Indeed. The mass Stalker style, it's one of the most oppressive things to face off against because they're so good at avoiding surrounds. Normally against the Protoss, it's like, okay, it's hard to engage. You get that one surround, you crush the army. The Stalkers are just like, nope, 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 nope. They just keep blinking back, pulling back up the cliffs, out of all the situations you're in. And that's why usually defending against Stalkers, you kind of want to overcommit to units, get one big crushing fight where you get the Stalker count down, and then you can drone and add more tech. But you need that one fight because otherwise the Stalkers are going to skirmish, they're going to chip away, picking off units here, units there. And over time, it just becomes such an inefficient battle. And if they get maxed and you're still on Roaches, Ravagers, Zerglings, it's not going to do too well versus Blink Stalkers with Hass's level of micro.
Yeah, and not on a 60 drone economy either. And the Stalkers can be deceptive. You know, you saw him right at the end there. The Stalkers look bruised. He's like, maybe if I pull the drones, you know, it's a desperation move. You know it's already over by that point. But yeah, a bit rough. Joey's definitely going to have to bring out his A game on the 4th map to try and stay in this. But we're going to take a quick short break first. And when we come back, we'll see if he can even it up to a 2-2 or if Haas will reign supreme here. Don't go away. Hello, hello. It is time once again to hop back into some video game action. We are e-gaming really hard here tonight, folks, and perhaps the person who needs to e-game the hardest right now is GogojOey, because he is one Haas win away from dropping down to that lower bracket, which isn't where you want to be at the best of times, and definitely not when you've got potentially two formidable Protoss opponents who are quite favored surviving in the upper bracket. So don't know what the answer is for Joey here, Pig. He's got to figure something out to stay alive.
Honestly, it's just one of those things where it's like you can try to convert Haas with the Lord about, you know, be pure and you shouldn't gamble and like, yeah, come on, man, come to the side of the Lord, listen to, here's the macro Bible and stuff. It's not going to work. Like, you've just got to learn to go and play his own game. You have to play the casino at least somewhat. And Joey did it great in game one and he smashed that game. But you can't just do it one or two games, because if you don't, you find yourself second guessing, going, is he doing this or is he doing that? You have to be a bit more confidently just playing your own plan, or you end up in a situation where you are simply behind on economy and then Haas dictates the rest of the game. And that's what's happened in the last two maps. Let's see if he can turn it around this time. In the bottom right of Blackburn in the red, this is GogojOey.
And sliding over to the bottom left, we have our blue Protoss from Team Prep. He is one win away from advancing. This is Haas.
I don't need to scout. So I see a pattern. Haas only scouts if he's planning to cannon rush.
Yeah. What a tell.
Wow. Yep. And Joey once again takes his third base, which already does hurt his economy. And that's what I'm talking about with like the kind of fear. I'm a big fan of, if you see this probe ring, he actually does probe scout. It's still not a very early probe scout, but it's kind of, you know, in between. It would give him enough warning to be okay. He would be able to full wall on this map to buy time. But yeah, basically, you see a probe coming, just stick a drone on it, I think is actually cheaper in the long run than having to send all these drones long distance down towards your third. I'm not sure what most players' thoughts are on it, but for me, I'd rather kind of send a drone down there, follow it for 20, 30 seconds, go, oh no, Overlord sees that there's no forge, back to mining. No worries. I think that's a lot better than having a third that all the way out there.
Yeah, but not only that, this has repercussions later into the game as well, because you've got a little bit further to spread your creep, and let's say he goes oracles, you know, you've got to cover that ground somehow. Just a bit bothersome to try and defend on a couple of fronts that are really quite far away, but you know, he may very well make it work. Now, we do have a forge coming up for Haas.
It's that build I was talking about before the series started. You gotta have a plan for this build. You gotta have a plan. And the sentry is actually the big tell. So Haas doesn't really hide it that well if he shows you the sentry. Oh, he's hidden the sentry actually. That's good. That's good. His sentry went back and hid from the Overlord. So I doubt Joey caught that since he was chasing the probe. And he's actually going for a Roach Warren. Ooh, okay. So Joey's gonna do a Roach Zergling kind of all-in attack. Forge is super useless first, that right? It's just wasted money. Haas will get a Robo out next. That's usually what he goes, a Robo in a second. It's actually on Twilight first. Interesting. So he's gonna go for some form of Immortal Charge, well, almost certainly.
Yeah.
But the question is, does he actually get enough units out in time? Is hallucination being used to kill the Overlord for now? If that goes across the map, Joey's in trouble. Because if that sees the lack of drones, the roaches on the way, it's a big problem for him. But this is wasting time. This is keeping Haas busy. And look at that, he's going for the sentry. This is so good for Joey. He's keeping Haas distracted right now.
Oh, gets it.
And that means the hallucination's not going across.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
May run out just before it sees much.
Oh, hide it. Oh no, he shows the units. He should have hid this. He thought it was going to run out by now. There's already 3 more gateways on the way. He's going to full wall with a pylon. That's not the thickest wall, but he's already got shield batteries on the way. You've got to just, yeah, you've got to just try to nail this home. Joey hammering at the wall, unable to get through. He's waiting for the roaches and the ravagers. There's only one stalker there. I think he's got to break that wall down now. I don't think he can wait.
No, he's got to get up here and start doing the damage. Those structures are getting very, very close to finishing here, and then he'll have so much extra juice to work with. He's throwing some biles over there already, and that gate is slowly taking damage, but yeah, there we have the targeting from that shield battery on the gateway to keep it alive. And he's just using the Ravagers to poke that down, and he's continuing to pump out more and more units here. He's really committing a lot to this attack.
This isn't going to work though. They're wearing it down slowly because the Stalkers do have the range. They can get you from the right side over there. Extra shield battery does kick in, so 2 full energy shield batteries. It's only a matter of time till overcharge comes back online as well.
Alright, he's chewing through the pylons here, but with the walling, he's still not quite able to make it through. He's using the biles on these building structures. He does get some links through, but the force fields from Haas immediate. Take that down with the Ravager bile though, and he's going to get us around here.
This might be enough. This might actually barely be enough. It's biling down one of the shield batteries that needs to combine these units together. Oh my gosh, if Joey can get this after everything that's happened in this game with it getting scouted away across the map, and it shows how useless the +1 upgrade is. I mean, it does help the Zealots kill Zerglings. The probes do not get a bonus, but they clean up the Zerglings. There's no energy left, but that shield battery overcharge is almost available for it. It's very weak though. So there's so little damage. There's a Zealot, a Stalker, one more Stalker comes in. The Ravage is very low. Those are the only range damage output from Joey. But Haas, he's down to his last legs. His probe line is crumpling. Those are not good combat units. Those are workers, and they do not do a good job up against Zerglings.
He's doing what he can with the units he has left, but GG, Joey evens it up 2-2. How sick is that? He could still make this happen and pull an upset over Haas. And it's exactly what you said, Pig. He needs to control the flow of the game. If he does that, that's his best shot. So Haas didn't really get to execute his weird Haas build there. It was still just an idea that was slowly taking shape, but not quite able to get there.
It is vulnerable. Sentry hallucinating, the hallucination not scouting as early as it could. These Zerglings were the real MVPs because this would have been spotted even earlier if it wasn't for this. And I do think that Haas maybe should have built an extra layer of wall a little bit earlier. I'm not quite sure what the best play is here. It's hard because do you just make Adepts? Adepts a bit better at killing Zerglings, Stalkers having more range, Sentries having the force fields. But the lack of gateway production in general makes it very difficult as he just doesn't have that many units. I mean, he's had so much warning of this and he's, what, 6-7 gateway units? Not a lot of damage output in there.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's difficult because you're sort of not exactly panicking. Haas tends to respond to things pretty well, but it's just those tiny decisions. Maybe your timing is slightly off on the wall or something, and it's just not quite enough to hold up against the few Ravager piles that there are. And he did a good job with the lings and stuff, using the probes to take a lot of those out, but there was just so much from Joey, and you can see he's pretty stoked with that win. Just to stay in it here and hopefully take the 3rd map. I think that would be a fantastic result for him.
Indeed. I mean, it's good to get a couple of very aggressive wins here, catching Haas off guard. Question is, what do you do next? Because if you go back to a more defensive setup, can you get away with it? Is Haas going to play safer after these attacks? We already know the answer's probably no, but you still don't know what build he's doing and therefore what the weak spot is. And especially if he goes Stargate, something like that last attack is just not going to work. So there's a lot of odds to weigh up, numbers to crunch, strategic decisions to be made. And that's going to probably decide the series because we know Haas, he's big brain, he's thinking out the best chance. He's got a winning. Can GogojOey match him in that element?
Yeah, I think our last map should be Oxide here. And we'll see what he comes out with on that one. Yeah, definitely going to have to keep the scouting up because Haas's follow-ups can be kind of not necessarily the most predictable option. We saw in Juggernaut that he suffered greatly from a gateway that just never got scouted on the left-hand side of the map.
Yeah.
So things like that cannot be allowed to happen here on Oxide, because that will force him to tap out. And I kind of can't help rooting for him. You know, he is the underdog while he is a brilliant player. Haas is Haas. He's amazing at the game, and he's really strong. People know about him. He's got a little bit of that international fame as well, whereas GogojOey still not quite as known, I feel. And oh, pig. All right, let's do these player intros real quick. In the top right, he is the red Zerg. He loves the aggression here. It's GogojOey.
Shout out to TBD Forever, who I saw in the chat a few minutes ago say, I don't know why he hasn't 12 pulled again. Down here at the bottom left-hand side, will he scout this game or will he be greedy? It looks like he's scouting. This is Haas. Oh my lord. The one game where he goes straight across after the gateway. Game 5 of the series. Haas is like, nah, I better check this time. The one game.
It's too late. Imagine, I was actually thinking this myself. I was like, imagine if he just went 12 pull all three, like the first 3 games.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
wouldn't that be the greatest 3-0 of all time?
Yeah. The game 5, it makes sense for Haas to roll on in this time.
Wait. He
Yeah.
drops a Nexus in the face of it.
He doesn't care, man. He's Haas.
Oh, he's so greedy. He's going to full ball. It's a good map for it with this ramp, right? This is one of the weaker 12 pool maps. It's not the fastest rush distance, and it's this narrow ramp.
Well and truly on its way, getting cornered out here to assist on the defense. And GogojOey, I mean, he saw the probe roll in and everything.
Greedy. This is so greedy. If he does pull probes, yeah. With the Zealot, the probes supporting. Does let the first lings inside though.
Well, he's not making more lings. That's the thing. There's a couple more coming in, but he's already back to droning.
Yeah, he only cleaned up the I guess he likes to just do an 8 Zergling commitment, doesn't he? Did this a little bit players recently, mixing that one in, and how it goes. The Zergling's gonna go for the surround. Ooh! Oh, nice target fire on the weak one, and the probes come for the save. Yeah. So even though the Zealot goes down, so do all the Zerglings. Nice micro by Haas, who survives. There is a 3-hatch follow-up for Joey, though. This is one of my favorite ways to follow it up. I think, honestly, yeah, you just delay the gas. If Joey takes the gas in the next 30 seconds, I think this is really bad for him, because Haas is going to mount a very strong counter pressure. Joey needs to defend this with just queens. Slow Zerglings up in the main, queens out front. Needs to get a creep tumor out front as natural as well. And he needs to drone like mad. I do not like that gas. By the time that kicks in, he's going to have already sustained any damage he's going to take. That gas hurts his economic growth right now. It means it's going to be hard for him to take advantage of that third base. I worry that these 2 adepts are going to do a bunch of drone damage. Where is the second adept, actually?
Hard to tell. Maybe over by the 3rd?
I think that's the same one. I think it's just moving out now. In the middle of the map, I guess.
Yeah, well, we'll be joining his buddy soon. And is this a bit of an echo of the last game? He's getting that forge again, heading into the robo.
It's his most standard PvZ. He does it so often. So often. The 2 adepts coming in. Oh, that's not a lot of Zerglings. Uh-oh. Oh, those queens should have already been moving it to follow that. Don't hang around a little bit too long. The queens will get some good damage, but he's going to get even more in the main. 1 queen there to greet it. Maybe some spore tricks to save the lives. Joey, nice micro.
There we go. He saves one of them, but yeah, still loses 3 drones and a little bit of mining time.
See that there's over 100 gas mine, and Joey hasn't started ling speed. And I actually think that's totally fine, because ling speed, yeah, it's nice to have, but I really do feel that it's like the roaches that's going to back up the queens to really make you survive anything. All of this adept pressure all hits pre-ling speed. I think the best way to get ahead versus this, have a few more slow Zerglings. Instead of investing in the gas, have a 3rd queen as well earlier, so you don't take any damage from the adept, and then drone up. But as it is, Joey's still doing a good job, but oh my lord, I'm going to use so many spore tricks. This is expensive. This is expensive. Loses a drone and loses about as much money as another drone and a half there. Oh, this is really rough.
Yeah, and it's not like this is giant drone killing damage. It's just chipping away at him, being super annoying, interrupting the mining while he's trying to recover this economy. They're back in the third again. Those spores were all just cancelled, and he's still able to pick off more drones here. And the +1 is happening behind this. He's getting depths into the main base with the warp prism there, and there's more gateways coming once that's done as well. He actually can't deal with it.
Yeah, this is it, because with that quick third hatch, you can't afford that and link speed at the same time. The gas mining has meant he has not had enough minerals to afford it. Technically, he could have, but it would have meant hurting his work account more than he was willing to, and this is what I'm talking about. I see this all the time with players trying to rush the third base and the gas. You do both things at once, and it becomes so hard to defend. And Haas, he's so good with this Adept micro. I think it was Petit Drogo who said Haas's early game 2 Adepts are the most frustrating 2 Adepts you've ever played against in the world. Like, he's like, people make fun of Haas's mechanics. Wait till you fight against his Adepts in the early game, and you will realize they are controlled better than anybody else's.
Absolutely. He's done so much damage just with these tiny hit squads of Adepts. And GogojOey finally gets some room to breathe now. He got that speed for better or for worse, and that helped him sort of get rid of some of the threat there. And now he's going to pump some lings and roaches. Haas already upgraded though. He's got some beefy units in this army, and he's warping in a bunch of zealots. So those lings, while good, you're going to kind of need a good position on those zealots. They are going to go down pretty quick. He's only got a few roaches in the mix so far, but the Protoss army is already here, so he needs to answer this now.
Oh, he's just so far behind Zerglings. Not good versus +1 Zealots there too, hitting the Zerglings. The Immortals weren't even there when the fight started. Now they walk in, and an almost impossible fight actually does become mathematically impossible for Joey. Haas there, relentless from start to finish.